Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Having Juice with OJ with your host, Oliver. Today, we are here with a Philly native. This guy's one of the biggest Philly sport fans I know. His name is Juan Gonzalez. Thank you so much for being here, Juan.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Oliver. This is awesome, bro. Congrats on your whole setup and whatnot, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me.
Of course. Today, we're pretty much just going to get down to nitty-gritty about some divisional championship football.
Beautiful.
And we're going to start off with a question where I already know what your answer is going to be, is who's the scariest of the four teams that are playing?
I mean, I got to go with the Eagles as the scariest. I mean, there's just 18 of your 22 starters are either all pros or Pro Bowl alternates or Pro Bowlers in general. So as in terms of an overall roster, I don't think there's a scarier roster in the league. I mean, the Bengals are killing it, though. The Joe Burrow is insane. I mean, it's hard to beat Jamar and T. Higgins. So if it's not the Eagles, I think the Bengals are probably the other scariest team that I'd say.
Yeah, see, I would have to go Bengals 100%.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is looking like
He's insane.
Absolute beast. I mean, you even just look at his receiving core. I would have to give it to them. They've got two wide receiver ones.
Yes, they do.
Their wide receiver 3, Tyler Boyd, stepping up always. I mean, T. Higgins stepped up a lot when Jamar wasn't around for like almost the entire season.
Yeah. And the defense is slept on. I'm going to cut you off, but the defense is slept on, man. Trey Hendrickson gets after it. Logan Wilson's a monster. Mike Hilton's one of the best tackling corners in the league. They've got Jesse Bates. So I think that team overall has been slept on most of the year. And then you get into the playoffs and when you kill a team like the Bills, you got to get some respect. So I say the Bengals are real scary.
Yeah, I would definitely say them beating the Bills was something that I feel like I foreshadowed it low-key, like when I saw it. Mm-hmm. But also like when it comes to the Bills, I feel like they're kind of fraudulent in a way. Yeah. I mean, like that's how I felt about them. I had like a week where I thought, oh my God, they're so good, they're going.
Yeah.
But then I reconsidered and I was like, I don't know. And then the Bengals really showed that. And then you just break it down to like who they're going to be playing. They're playing the Chiefs with like a pretty like broken down Patty Mahomes right now, I would say, where he's going to have to like rely on his one ankle a lot.
And lacking weapons. I mean, the only real weapon that they have is Kelsey. Nobody else really scares you. MVS had a good game against them in the regular season, but he doesn't scare you, right? They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. I mean, the Chiefs are good, right? Anytime you're coached by Andy Reid and you have Patty Mahomes, you're going to be fine. But the Bengals are a different animal right now. They're going to come in hot, and I think they can beat that team. I do.
Yeah, I feel like that Chiefs defense just doesn't do it for me.
Nah.
I think that's like the worst part of it all is that if you don't have a healthy Mahomes, you need a great defense.
You do.
So I think that's like an issue that they're going to come across during that game. I still think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I think that's because Mahomes will get that running going. Like he's going to have to rely on like a lot of his running backs to kind of get that ball down the field, and then he'll make those spectacular plays.
Yeah, agreed. You got to set up play action, right? You run the ball. I mean, Pacheco had a solid game against them last time. I think a lot of checkdowns because he's going to have to get the ball out quick, right? With a bum ankle, he can't really risk getting hit low. He can't escape the pocket. It's going to be a lot of just bang, bang. I wouldn't expect a lot of play action early because he can't roll out. He can't really move. So just getting the ball out quick and trying to set it up there. I agree it's going to be a close game, though. Andy Reid's not going to – I don't think Andy Reid's going to get blown out in a championship game, even though he's done it in Philly before, so I can't say that, to be honest.
He has. But honestly, if I'm the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, it sounds terrible to say, but I mean, I'm telling everyone.
You got to go after him. I mean, it's just football.
Telling everyone
football,
to go
right?
for it.
It's a barbaric sport. Like, if you know someone's hurt, you have to go after it. I was watching a Chris Long clip earlier, and he was talking about how when you have a high ankle sprain, right, most of the time they just shoot it up a Toradol, they give you painkillers, and you're kind of just dragging it. And defenses see that, they know that, so they're coming after you. They know they're not really worried about play action because you can't move. So they're going to bite on the run. They're going to come hard. They're going to come downhill. So those ankle injuries, man, they're no joke. He's going to be in a lot of pain, and we'll see. I don't know. I think that's going to be a good game.
I think it's going to be a good game, especially just because the way that Kelsey gets used, it's like it's very easy for him to get Kelsey that ball. Like Kelsey's open in the middle of the field always in between those numbers.
Always.
When he gets to the red zone, like he's going to get open. It does not matter.
No.
It doesn't matter about the scrub wide receivers he's surrounded by. Like it doesn't matter if they double team him. He's going to get there.
And if he doesn't get open, if for some reason he's double or triple team, Patty makes plays in the red zone. even on a bum angle, he'll make some sort of flip or some sort of toss in the air that somehow lands on a receiver's hands. Like, those games are going to be great. I think both of the games this weekend are set up to be good games. I mean, you've got one defensive battle and one offensive battle, so kind of tale of two different teams, two different stories, but I'm excited. I think we're going to have some good football this weekend.
That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling there's going to be an over game and there's going to be an under game.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right now I'm leaning for Bengals Chiefs to be that over. I'm thinking 7-point game. It's going to be in between. Like, it's going to be coming down to that last drive. I think it actually could come down to Patty 2-minute drill with a bum ankle. In his hand, I feel like I could see that happening.
That's what we love football for.
Exactly. Yeah. And then for the Eagles, I can see it being like a 17-20, like a 2017.
That's what I think. Yeah, I'm thinking like 23-17, 23-14-ish game. I don't know. I think both defenses are really good. Eagles get the ball in the red zone, and the 49ers red zone defense is a little suspect. I want to say they're around like 18th in the league. Eagles offense was, I want to say, number 2 or 3 in red zone offense in terms of efficiency, scoring touchdowns instead of field goals. So if you can score in the red zone, and honestly, the way that teams beat the Eagles is holding the ball. So you got to get stops. You can't let the 49ers hold the ball the whole game. If you do, you're going to be in trouble. If the Eagles can control the ball, I think that they're in a good spot. I think that their defense is set up well to stop Debo. They're top 10 against the run since they signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. They're set up well. I think that the Eagles have a great chance of winning and going on to the Super Bowl. I think they play the Bengals. I do.
I honestly like that. So, like, the one thing that I can say I love about the Eagles is how you guys just throw people into like that deep, like you guys have a rotation, like the rotation, you guys keep those fresh legs on there. And I think that will become a factor, especially like you said, you do not want the Niners to hold that ball.
No, you can't.
And the way to do that is to like not get exhausted, not have people out there with tired legs. And I think that's going to be a big part of it, especially with the energy level in that stadium. Everyone's going to be hyped. The backups are going to be hyped.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to coaching too. Does Gannon get outcoached by Shanahan? Shanahan's a brilliant offensive mind. Gannon has a good defense, and like the numbers look good, but the eye test is always iffy. Like, there's always players wide open in the middle of the field, so that's what scares me. Like, we were talking about Kittle before. I think Kittle goes way over his yards of 46.5. I mean, middle of the field should be open. You're probably going to have to put CJ on Debo because Debo's going to work in the slot a lot of the times. You're not going to have Slayer Bradbury in the slot. So that takes CJ kind of on Debo. So you're left with either Reed Blankenship, Marcus Epps, or TJ Edwards on Kittle. And I don't like any of those matchups, to be honest.
No.
I don't like any of those matchups. So if he can find spots and zones and just sit there, I think Kittle has a big day. But other than that, I think that the Eagles defense is set up well to stop Debo, Ayuk, and I don't know about McCaffrey. McCaffrey could have a big day. He could get bottled up. I'm not quite sure about that one.
Yeah. So I was actually just reading about like the participation in the practices and such like that. CMC and Elijah Mitchell looks like they're sitting them out like kind of right now, which I don't think is that big of a deal.
It's a big deal either.
I think that's just safety precautions. You don't want them to run through
you
and
don't
like
want them tweaking anything.
Yeah, nothing like that.
No.
But what I will say is it could make Debo run more out of the backfield.
Yeah, it could.
Just like yesterday, Debo was playing more. Like he was out there. He was a limited participant, but he was there. And then you had Elijah and CMC on the side, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that this could mean that he might get some more carries in the back. I could see over 20.5.
I could see that.
In the back rushing.
I think a lot of times, and I don't know, just watching the games, when you see Debo in the backfield, you kind of assume he's getting the ball. So when you have a banged up CMC and they're both in the backfield, I'd kind of lean towards more stopping Debo. But at the same time, you never know. I mean, I was telling you like a couple weeks ago, I think it was the first playoff game, how I wanted to bet Debo 14.5 rushing yards. And then his first touch, he breaks one for like 25. And I'm like, man, that's sickening. Like, I wish I would have threw on that. So I could see him breaking one. But overall, the Eagles defense doesn't give up many big plays. So a lot of dink and diming. I think Purdy's going to have to dink and dime a lot. And that's fine with me. I think the Eagles swarm, they make tackles, and that's what they do. That's how they stop teams.
I was going to say, so we've talked a lot about this off camera, of course. We talk a lot of sports all the time, 24/7, I promise you.
Always.
But one of the things we talked about was Brock Purdy. Me and you went back and forth on this. There's a lot of like different evidence that you could pull up about different things. I think that the fact that he came from such a late round, he was the last pick. If he was a first, second rounder, right now, him coming in and doing what he's doing, all the analysts would be like, well, yeah, obviously he's doing this. Like,
yeah, right.
He came from a big school, whatever. He came from Iowa State, small, like whatever. It did that. So how do we feel about him coming into Eagles territory and trying to work it out?
I mean, it's gonna be hard. I mean, you saw 2017. Everybody thought Case Keenum was this, good quarterback. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. I forgot you were a Vikings fan, but everybody thought Case Keenum was gonna come in and be competitive, and he just got blown out of the water. I think playoffs is a different animal. He's played well the last 2 weeks, but like I've told you, he's made mistakes. Like that Seahawks game, I remember 2 passes that he threw that should have easily been picked off that got dropped. Last week, a couple of different times, he makes just weird decisions sometimes where I'm like, I don't quite know what you're doing. He loves to run backwards 10, 15 yards and like spin out of plays. That doesn't work against defenses like the Eagles, right? When you've got a Reddick that doesn't quit, you've got a BG on the other side that doesn't quit, you've got Fletcher coming up the middle, you've got Hargrave coming up the middle, like stuff like that doesn't work. So I think Brock Purdy, don't get me wrong, he's playing well. I don't think he's a bad quarterback at all. But it's different when you're a 7th round rookie, right? Coming into a hostile territory. I don't care what anybody says about college environments. Like Philly is a different breed when it comes to playoff games. Like it's not a night game, but it'll be dark by halftime. So it'll get a little crazy, a little rowdy. Not that it wouldn't already, but I think Brock Purdy's not quite ready for it as much as they want to say he is, as much as they want to say he's got this, swagger about him and nothing phases him. That's fine until Hassan Reddick is directly in your face 2 seconds after you snap the ball and you're letting it go to a receiver, and Darius Slay's right there, James Bradbury's right there. I mean, I think Brock Purdy's going to have a solid game, but I don't think it's going to be one of those like, look at this guy. Like people comparing him to Hurts and saying they'd rather have him than Hurts. Come on now.
I honestly I can't even back that up. Like I've been a Brock supporter. I'm also a huge Jalen supporter. I do love Jalen. I have him on a fantasy team. He does work. He does that work. Promise you.
Yeah.
But Brock has shown up, shown out for no reason.
Yeah.
Everyone had no reason to feel like he should do this.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will always lay back on is it's the Eagles, man. Like we're sitting at Eagles territory with that fan base. Just like we were Debo talking about how San Fran's louder.
Bulletin board material, man. Because not only you're making like, I don't know how mad you're making the players by making a comment like that, but fans hear that and they're like, oh yeah, Debo, you sure about that?
Especially here, they're all like drinking their natty lights, getting ready for that game.
Pounding them,
They've been drinking since last week.
Exactly. Haven't stopped. They're already getting Broad Street ready for possible celebrations, which is a little early, right? Let's not jump the gun. But yeah, it's a crazy city, man. I think Purdy's not really ready for it. I have a stat here. I think rookie quarterbacks are 0-4 in championship games when it comes to like conference championship games. 0-4, 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. The 4 quarterbacks are Flacco, Mark Sanchez, Ben Roethlisberger, and then a guy I never heard of named Sean King. So like big name quarterbacks, not tiny quarterbacks. 0-4, 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in conference championship games. Personally, I like to look at other sides of those, right? Those kinds of things are meant to be broken.
Yeah.
But it's hard to ignore that. Those aren't 7th round quarterbacks. Those are all fairly good quarterbacks that were 1st round picks or came in early. Like they're not Brock Purdy's.
That's why it's interesting too, because that feels like that's a reason.
What?
Like, because these like big names have been over, it feels like that Mr. Irrelevant guy would be like, hey, 1 for 4.
I'm not going to sit here and be surprised if the Eagles lose on Sunday because I'm not, right? The 49ers are a great team.
The line's sketchy.
The defense,
line's sketchy.
So I didn't realize this. When you said that 90% of the money's on the Eagles, like the line hasn't moved. Usually when there's a ton of money on one side, the line was kind of moves like it even bets out. It hasn't moved at all. So like I said, I'm not going to be surprised if they lose. I'm not. It's a championship game, right? Things happen. My whole life, Eagles have been letting us down in championship games. I mean, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, like whole life basically. So I'm not going to be surprised if they lose, but at the same time, I'm not expecting them to. I think they come out and they play well. I think they're going to be fired up. I think that crowd is going to be fired up. I think they're going to get after Brock Purdy. I mean, you let him know why he was a rookie 7th rounder. you know?
Yeah.
Third string.
One other thing is you guys like tend to call each other like Batmans. Everyone's got a Batman. There's no Robins in Philly.
No,
apparently.
no Robins, I guess.
Who's gonna have the better game? Which one? You got Swole, Fast, and Skinny.
I wouldn't say Fast.
Not Quez.
So when they drafted Quez, I liked Quez a lot.
Yeah.
I thought Quez was underrated last year. He had like 600 yards and a pretty mediocre offense. I thought when you come into a situation where you've got AJ, Smitty on one side, and you can let Quez work in the middle, that he'd do a lot more this year. And he just hasn't really done much. And when they do throw him the ball, he gets kind of babied. The ball gets snatched out of his hands. I don't love Quez personally. I think out of the two, I think AJ is primed for a big game. I mean, sure, he might be banged up, but that could also be a little bit of a smoke screen, right? He looks fine. He's not on any injury reports.
Yeah.
I think
He just got thrown off it.
Yeah, I have another. So where's it at? The Niners give up yards to receivers. So D-Hop, DK, Devontae, and Tyreek all had over 100 yards on them, and like big games.
Big guys.
Juju had 125 yards. AJ Green
Juju.
somehow had over 100 yards on them. So I think AJ's due for a big game. I mean, his over-under right now is 70.5. I'd probably take that over. I'd even probably take it up to 80. I think 80 was at like plus 115, something around there. So I think if anybody's going to be Swole Batman, get him the ball early, get him involved, get him some confidence. That's what he needs. He needs to get going. He kind of power when he's not getting the ball. So get him the ball early, right? Just feed him. I'm okay with that because it's like the Diggs effect, right? Like they want the ball. They want to be involved. I'm not mad at them wanting to be involved. Just get him involved. I mean, don't force it, right? Don't force anything. If you can get him quick slants, you can get him quick out routes or comebacks, get him the ball quick, right? Let him get rolling. And then set up Smitty, right? Because once they start focusing on AJ, you got Smitty, you got Goddard. One thing that I liked this weekend was Miles Sanders. I think his receiving was like 6.5. That's like one catch, basically, something like that. So he doesn't get a lot of receiving work, but it's a good defense, right? What happens when you have good defenses? You check the ball down.
You have to.
So I could see one catch, bang, 6 yards, 7 yards. There's your bet, cash it. But I think if anybody's gonna have a big game out of the Batmans, I'm gonna go Swole Batman. I think it's just his time. This is what you traded for him, right? You want this receiver. You need a number one, big moment. The only bigger moment is 2 weeks from now, right? So he's got to step up. I'd go Swole.
I definitely agree with what you're saying that he needs to have that game, especially if you guys are to win this game.
Yeah.
He needs to have that confidence going into the SB. And the one thing I will say is I'm keen on Skinny right now.
Yeah,
Skinny
he's
Batman,
killing it, man.
and I think it's only just because of he's getting so much more production. In the beginning of the year, it was way different.
Yeah,
it was way different. He really was not getting it, honestly. And then all of a sudden, I feel like a switch just hit. It's like they're back in Bama. It feels like I don't know. It's weird. So like I definitely think they should get AJ Brown that ball. Yeah. He needs to get that ball. I think it's gonna come in a touchdown for him.
I think he gets one too.
I think it's gonna be a touchdown for him. That's why I'm not huge on his yards. I think that they will get him the ball more than they have, only because of how much social media presence has come around that he hasn't gotten it. Just like last year when like they weren't running the ball enough and stuff, and then social media pounded that.
Yeah, they only ran it.
And then all of a sudden it just
Jordan
like
Howard
switched up.
Jesus for a couple weeks.
Literally just a couple weeks. And it's interesting to see how this offense has evolved through even in the last 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I remember when they hired Sirianni, I did a little bit of research on him, and he had worked with a bunch of quarterbacks. He worked with Phillip Rivers. He had worked with Andrew Luck. He had worked with Jacoby Brissett. And each time he did that, he made a playbook for that specific quarterback. He tailored the playbook around that need and also around what the team has. So that's a specialty, right? He likes to adapt. He adjusts to what he needs to adjust to. So last year he had no receivers. I love Smitty, but when he's your only receiver, you can't do much.
Yeah.
He's
a good two guy.
He's a great two guy, right? You see that this year. Over 1,000 yards as a two guy, almost 100 receptions.
Yeah.
So you take Smitty, you take AJ, and you have a whole different playbook that opens up. Right now you can run more routes. The field opens up for you more. And you can see this year that Sirianni's really built a playbook for this offense, and it's thriving. Like, don't get me wrong, there's games where it's a little stagnant, but for the most part, when it's clicking. Like, it's unstoppable. Like, last week against the Giants, unstoppable. When they played the Giants in New York a couple weeks ago, unstoppable. When it's clicking like that, man, it's hard to stop. So I think that They just put Hurts in a position to succeed. They put Smitty in positions to succeed. They've opened the field up for him. And yeah, Smitty's been going crazy.
And then on top of that, Miles Sanders is a big question mark kind of for the Eagles right now. Whether you guys will keep him / not, who knows. But you guys already have a pretty solidified running group. And like everyone works really well together, whether it be Kenneth Gainwell, whether it be Boston Scott, because you know Nick Sirianni set Boston Scott up to get that touchdown. It wasn't it wasn't like he was just gonna magically get that touchdown. Yeah. He set it up so then he could do that just to be like, yeah, Giants, look killer. At it, look at you.
Exactly. And he made a lot of people money.
Yeah,
he was like,
definitely made a lot of people money.
Anytime Teddy, all right, cool. Plus 310.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna take a little break, and we'll be right back at Usala Media. Welcome back to Having Juice with OJ, here with Juan. And we're going to start talking about some of our picks for this weekend for Sunday's games. And let us know in the comments below what your picks are, whether you think we're right or wrong. So let's start off with the easy one. Super Bowl predictions, the winner. You've got the Eagles in the front runner right now at plus 230.
Yeah.
And then you've got Chiefs plus 260. And then you've got 280, plus 280 Bengals, and then plus 320 Niners.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't bet on the Eagles personally. I could never do it. It's just I got too much emotionally invested that if I put money into it, it's just going to add a whole nother stress I don't need or want. But if I had to pick one that's not the Eagles, like I said earlier, I'd probably take the Bengals. I think the Bengals are just a different animal right now. They're really clicking on all levels. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can defend. I'd say Bengals, what are they, plus 260?
Plus 260.
Yeah, that'd probably be my bet if I were to go against the Eagles.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would definitely have to agree with you. I think the little bit more juice that they add to it just makes it a little bit nicer. And also going for the front runner on a Super Bowl odds prediction, it doesn't tend to work out, I feel like.
Not usually.
Which is the scary part.
It's like Vegas knows that they want who they want people to put their money on, right?
Vegas always knows for some weird reason. And about that Bengals Chiefs game, and when it comes down to who will get there, because we're saying Bengals is the secondary right now. That means they got to beat the Chiefs.
They do got to beat the Chiefs.
They got to beat the Chiefs. They got to beat Pat. They got to beat Andy. Got to beat Kelsey. O-line's looking okay for them. Like, I would say it's a pretty solid O-line for what they're dealing with right now.
The Bengals?
No,
the Chiefs. Oh yeah, Chiefs is okay.
I think Jerick McKinnon is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
I think he was a great pickup in fantasy, by the way, which I did do that. Amazing 30-point games out the wazoo. And Pacheco, obviously we talked about earlier, Isaiah, Rutgers guy.
Yeah.
Rutgers guy, you would never think he would be in this position. And then you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire that's been non-existent. I think that's probably the weirdest part about the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, they drafted him in the first round a couple years ago, and he's just been disappointing over the last couple of seasons. So, I mean, why not? When you've got players like Pacheco and McKinnon, and their one thing is they run hard, right? They run through contact. They're not afraid of getting hit. And then you've got Clyde, who's 5'11", 210 pounds maybe. He's a finesse guy. He's a shifty guy. When you're a finesse and shifty guy, and you're always hurting your ankle, your hamstring, you're going to get put on the bench. And so I think Pacheco and McKinnon are two hard runners that the Chiefs are going to need, especially with Patty being hurt. You're going to need them. They had good games earlier this year. Pacheco had 66 yards and a touchdown. McKinnon had 51 yards on 8 attempts, so, almost 6 yards a carry. Good stats. I mean, Bengals D-line is good. Trey Hendrickson gets after it. Sam Hubbard gets after it. I saw Trey Hendrickson in the last couple matchups has owned Orlando Brown, who's the Chiefs left tackle. I think that's going to really matter. Trench play, like you said, it's really going to matter down low. Can they run the ball? Can they not run the ball? Can they protect Patty? They can't protect Patty. It might get ugly quick.
I was about to say, because last game, people were even struggling to believe that the Chiefs could beat the Jags in that situation, especially early on. I was in all my group chats being like, it's over, it's dead, Patty's done. Book the Bengals, book the Bengals. It's crazy that you still cannot book him.
No.
Even though he's 50%.
Like I said it earlier, but like I don't feel like we've really talked about Andy Reid is a top 3 coach probably, if not all time. I mean, he's gonna keep you in games. He doesn't really get blown out, especially not in Kansas City. They're gonna be at home. You can't rule a team out that has Andy Reid as a coach. You just can't do it. Especially Patty Mahomes. A 75% Patty Mahomes is still probably a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Which is
as crazy as that sounds, right? Like just standing from the pocket, he can make throws that nobody else can make.
I'm gonna say Andy Reid is definitely the one coach that I wanted to see win that Super Bowl originally.
Agreed.
Yeah, like I felt like he deserved it. It was something that I feel like everyone in the entire world honestly did not matter what team you liked.
Especially
you liked
in Philly.
that he won.
Yeah. Especially in Philly. I mean, we have a love-hate relationship with Andy Reid because he brought us a lot of good times, brought us some really ugly times. But I think at the end of the day, everybody understood that when he left, it was just kind of time to move on.
Yeah.
And to see him succeed elsewhere is cool. It's the same thing with Doug Peterson. Philly was super happy for Doug Peterson after he left. He makes the playoffs. He comes back from a crazy deficit in a playoff game. Philly's happy for old coaches as long as they felt like you didn't do them wrong. Like, we never want Chip Kelly to succeed. But Doug and Andy, they got it.
That is one thing about Philly is, like, if you have the passion, they will follow that passion. It does not matter if you keep going on to another team or something like that. That's the difference between someone like Andy Reid walking away rather than someone like Ben Simmons going away.
Exactly,
like
right?
You have 2 different mindsets on life and how to deal with situations.
Exactly. One steps away and one steps into it, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Philly wants that guy that's going to step into it and not shy away from the limelight or the spotlight. That's why Sirianni works well here, too. He's not scared of being himself, right? And looking at the camera.
He gets all hype. He's in the camera's face like this.
And he's showing confidence, like.
I love that.
Yeah, talk your talk, right? Like,
coaches
you're
don't
here.
have to just stand there. That's the one thing I do like about that. And all the video clips I see about him is just like him getting all hyped up, especially at, like, for example, after that Boston Scott thing.
Yeah,
he was
right?
hyped. He was like, yeah,
as you should.
Yeah, he was like looking over, like, yeah, you guys know what I just did.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree, man. Sirianni works well here. Doug worked well here too because Doug didn't give in to anything, right? Doug was one of those, like, I'm gonna just let you know how it is. I really don't care your opinion. I don't care your thoughts. Like, this is how I want to run my team. This is how I'm gonna do it. Sirianni is a little more, I think he listens more to the media, like how they were talking about with the running the ball and whatnot. But at the same time, like, he had a terrible first press conference and didn't let that deter him. Everybody said he was unqualified, XYZ, and he was the number 1 seed. They're planning to go to the Super Bowl in a couple of days. So I think he has reason to be a little cocky, a little confident.
I think even if you don't have reason, it just makes it that much more fun.
Oh, yeah, right?
Like, for example, just like a Philly thing a couple years ago, I guess, when everyone was hyped up on Korkmaz for a second, and he was getting all hyped about it too. Like, he was having great games. Like, everyone's hyping him up in the city. Doesn't even matter if, like, they don't think he's that good. It's just like, yo, look at that dude Furkan. Like, he's a beast.
It's the same thing. I mean, we talked about it before, Georges Niang. Philly loves Georges Niang.
They do.
But let's watch him when it comes to playoffs. Let's see how much you love Georges Niang.
Let's see how much you love that defense.
Exactly, right? Let's see how that, exactly, right? You love the energy and you love the character, but when it comes down to they're just picking on him in the playoffs, like, you're going to be like, get him off the floor.
For sure. And that's the difference in Eagles is it doesn't feel like they have that weak link right now.
No,
they're pretty filled in every single category. And in my opinion, except for the QB wise, I think the Niners take the matchup all the way through against the Eagles. I know you probably disagree with that.
I do disagree with that. I think that our D-line is better. I think you look at 49ers sacks. Bosa has 18 and a half of their 40-something sacks, I want to say. So you can't just take Nick Bosa away. I don't think that you can. But when you look at the Eagles D-line, right, you've got Hassan with like 16.
Yeah.
everybody else with 10 or whatever. Fletcher with 7. It's balanced. It's not one of those like one guy gets after it.
You guys almost broke that single season record for sacks,
did,
right?
Yeah, they did. What's his name? Davis Webb didn't want to go down at all in that Giants game. He kept like throwing the ball away
Davis Webb,
and not letting people sack him, so they didn't get any records. But they still broke the team record. They'll take that.
70?
Yeah, something like that. Still take that. So I'll take the Eagles D-line. I mean, you can't take the Eagles linebackers over the 49ers linebackers. Fred Warner is the best linebacker in the league.
Dre Greenlaw.
Dre Greenlaw is insane. Safety wise, I mean, Hufanga was an all-pro, but I think he's kind of tailed off a little bit.
Yeah.
Jimmy Ward's good. Tre'Davious Ward's solid. I don't even know the other corner, to be honest. So
yeah, no.
I'm taking big play Slay. Taking big play Slay and Bradbury over their corners. Taking our O-line. They've got Trent Williams and McGlinchey.
I like your O-line a lot. McGlinchey, he's an OPC. Let's go Penn Charter.
Yeah,
Penn Charter, fight harder.
They've got Williams and McGlinchey, and other than that, I can't name you their O-line. I'm going to take our O-line. We've got the best center in the game. We've got the best right tackle in the game. Numbers-wise, Landon Dickerson was number 2 in run defense, and run blocking, and number 1 in pass blocking. He's rather underrated in my opinion. My one thing with Dickerson, he gets hurt a lot. He's like the new Jason Peters. He'll hobble off every couple plays, and it's kind of like, come on, are you tired or like, but I take our O-line. We had this conversation before. I'm gonna take AJ, Smitty, and Goddard over Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle. I do. I think I'd rather have that versatility. I think Ayuk doesn't do as much as Smitty does. I think AJ is a better receiver that you can hand the ball to, and you can get him in open space if you want. And Goddard, I think, is like a baby Kittle almost, right? Like they're very similar in terms of their athletic freaks. They make catches that they probably shouldn't make. They're great after the catch. They don't get tackled easily. But as a whole, I'm going to take the Eagles. And then as for running backs, I mean, CMC, like you were saying earlier, he's going to be the best player on the field. You got to stop him. I'm going to take him over Miles all day. And then I'm obviously taking Jalen over Purdy. If you think otherwise, I think you're insane.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that too. I think a lot of it has to do with system. I mean, you plug in anyone to that San Fran offense, they're doing it.
Dude, I mean, and again, this is not a knock on Purdy because he's just throwing the ball to where he needs to throw the ball to.
Imagine Justin Herbert in that offense.
That's what I'm saying. Or even if you switch, right? If you put Jalen in that 49ers offense and you put Purdy in the Eagles offense, right?
Barely 500, maybe.
And he's throwing to wide open guys, right? So like you were saying, that's scheming. That's Shanahan just saying, run this route, run that route, run this route, and you should be open, right? I don't know how he does it, but that's basically what he does, right? He just draws up these plays that gets people wide open. And it's like, how is he that open? Some sort of miscommunication or some sort of misdirection got him that open. So Purdy's making plays that he needs to make. The minute he doesn't make those plays, the 49ers are in trouble. If the Eagles can make him get off of those plays that he's supposed to make and make bad decisions or rush throws and things like that, then I think they're in a good spot. Get after him. That's what you need to do. Cowboys got after him and he had a solid game, nothing crazy, but the Cowboys got after him.
They did.
Chase him.
So to build off that, let's talk some betting for this game. Let's do it. Let's break it down, nitty gritty, all of it.
All right.
Over under San Fran Eagles game. What do we feel about this? We're sitting at 46.5 right now.
I'm gonna go under on that. I think like you said, like a 23-17, 23-14 game. I don't think either offense is really prepared to go out and blow the doors off of this other team's defense. Both are really good defenses. I'll go under on that one.
Yeah, I definitely think the elite defenses really changes everything, especially also coaching-wise, scheme-wise. There'll be adjustments throughout the game. It doesn't matter if, all of a sudden the Eagles drive down the field and make it look like nothing. The next time they're on the field versus that defense, I guarantee it's going to look a little bit different.
Exactly.
So I definitely feel the under for that. And then for touchdown scores, obviously Christian McCaffrey is the most favorited. You're sitting at minus 130 right now.
Minus 130 on that one. I mean, you could take it. I think it's a good bet. Not much value, but
the value just doesn't get it for me.
And, he scored in 6 or 7 straight games, something like that.
I believe so. Yeah,
again,
he just gets that ball right there.
Yeah, and things like that are meant to end, in my opinion, right? So You bet on that minus 130 and you lose and you're going to be pretty upset. So I'd probably stay away from that.
Especially just because of the fact that there is maybe that lingering issue that he has, because this is the most healthy he's been, I think, in feels like 20 years. Christian McCaffrey being on the field for this many games.
Right.
I think that's gonna end. Something bad's gonna happen. Not even bad. I'm not wishing bad juju on CMC, trust me. But I will say it just doesn't feel like he's gonna get there this time.
A little tweak or something.
Yeah, like something like that.
I'd rather see Elijah Mitchell than CMC, but
as everyone
as
would
an
like
Eagles
to.
fan.
And then obviously the next scorer would be Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, both sitting at plus odds, plus 125, plus 140.
Yeah.
I personally think Jalen's taking one in first touchdown scorer. I'm gonna
First
go out
tutty.
there and say it.
I like that. I mean, that's always a solid bet, Jalen first tutty score. I always stay away from Miles Sanders. I just
Never know what they're gonna do.
you
with
never
him.
know what they're gonna do with Miles. So I wouldn't bet on Miles to score a touchdown. But I think Jalen is a good bet. I think I saw it earlier at plus 125.
Yep.
I think I'd take that. I would take that.
Then the next two value ones that I like are Debo at plus 170 and AJ Brown at plus 155. I think those are solid value for what's to come for this game, and it's gonna this game's gonna set a precedent in that way. I think the first person to score that's gonna depend on who scores after that. So if you've got rushing, if rushing seems like the main thing, they might continue with that, and it's gonna be harder once the game goes on to get AJ Brown or Debo those wide receiver looks.
I think I don't love Debo. I think depending on who he's matched up with, it's a rough matchup for him. For a little bit more value, Kittle at 185, I think is a solid bet.
I love Kittle.
Him and Purdy have some sort of special connection. He's been getting in the end zone. He's been getting yards. Like we were saying earlier, I think if you focus on Debo in the slot, it's going to leave a favorable matchup for Kittle. So I'd go with Kittle at plus 185 before I did Debo. But I think we were talking like AJ 155. I think that's good money.
I think that's good money. I've been high on George Kittle for this game coming into now.
I love Kittle.
Yeah, my short's out. Go watch it. Talking about how I just feel like George Kittle and somebody as irrelevant as a QB as Brock.
Yeah.
Those type of QBs tend to go for their tight end targets. I feel like
they do
that's
safety
the
blankets.
Yeah, it's easy. It's right there. It's usually you can find them in some type of way open.
Yep.
Especially if you've got someone like Kittle who
just gets open.
Yeah, who's just an absolute dog.
He'll just find a spot.
And then to move on, we've got the passing yards. We've got Brock Purdy sitting at 218.5 and Jalen Hurts at 247. I personally think Jalen's going under his yards.
I had Jalen under as well. I saw something that when they're favorites, Jalen throws the ball less. And I don't know. I just don't expect them. Yeah, I just don't expect them to come out and really fling the ball all over the place. I think that they'll be methodical and kind of balanced.
Yeah.
247 is a good amount of yards against his defense.
I agree. And then he just throws like second lowest or something like that yards.
And then Purdy, I don't know about that line. I sat there and looked at that line forever.
Iffy. I don't even think I would touch it. If
I wouldn't touch it either.
Touch it.
But if I had to guess, I'd probably go over because I think that if I had to guess, I'd say that the 49ers are trying to come from behind in this game.
Yeah.
I think that if you can get an early turnover or two off of Purdy and you capitalize off that, then he has no choice but to throw the ball.
He's gonna have to.
So if I had to bet one, I'd say over. But
even those small dump off passes that he could have to CMC on the side. I love CMC receiving yards.
Yeah.
I think that he could break out for a 70-yarder. Right there,
Easily.
70 yards on his passing.
He's easily, right? Easily.
Yeah.
Or even like those, I hate how this counts as passing when like the little jet sweeps and they like toss it forward. Like,
and you know they're going to be doing that with Debo and CMC in the backfield. They're definitely
that's passing yards. So, I mean, I would stay away. But if I had to pick one, I'd go over on that.
And then we've got rushing yards. We've got CMC sitting at 56.5. I'm always scared to take CMC's rushing or receiving because I don't know which one he's going to do the most of.
Yeah. Agreed. I saw that the combined was 90. I might look at that.
That's interesting.
I might look at that. I think it was 90.5 for receiving or rushing. But in terms of, what did you say, 56.5?
Yeah.
I'd probably go under. Eagles top 10 run defense since like week 12. Probably go under on that.
I like that. And then Miles Sanders is sitting at 49.5. I I
want to
just
go
like
over.
I get so scared. Like
I want to
get
go
scared.
over,
I can
right?
feel it.
Because like playoffs, they run the ball a lot, but at the same time,
and
like
pound.
you just can't trust Miles. Can't trust him. Like
You also can't trust that there's going to be a game plan for him to be
Exactly.
a part of, like the script.
there's
Everyone
times
has
where
a
like
script.
there's times where he doesn't touch the ball until like the second quarter.
Yeah.
It's like he's good. He's a good running back, and you have a great O line. Get him the ball, which is why I'd go over, but I don't. Yeah.
I wouldn't
No,
put a lot.
thank
I would
you.
sprinkle it.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Hurts, 46.5. I would say that he's going to have to get that passing game going
Yes.
in order for him to get those yards. Because if he does that, then they're going to be focused. Like a lot of the linebackers and such are going to be more focused on making sure
passing,
that
yeah.
there's no quick slants or anything in the middle of the field or on the side. So he can get over it. And I think he could have a breakout run for 25 yards, 30 yards.
Yeah, I think if you want to bet under Jalen Hurts rushing yards, you're playing a risky game. Just because, yeah, like at any point he could break one off for 25, 30 because there's nobody open in the middle of the field. It's wide open. So I'd probably go over on that one.
And then earlier I brought up Debo in the backfield. I still have to stick with it. It went up a point since yesterday. It's at 21.5 now. Vegas is starting to read me. They're starting to read me.
On you.
Yeah, I would say that's a line that's worth taking the risk for.
Yeah.
I think, just because of how explosive of a player he is, if they catch you slipping in any type of way, he can break out right on the
misdirections will
side.
get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think if you're gonna get him at 21, then that's a good bet. I like that.
And then we're gonna go to receiving yards. We've talked about Kittle.
Over.
Hammer him no matter what.
Over.
Throw a milli on it, doesn't matter. Over 46.5.
Yep. Or I think the receiving, like the receptions was 4.5. I'd probably take that too. I think Purdy's going to be under pressure. He's going to look for safety blankets, and Kittle should be right there. Over 46.5, I'd say.
Let's take that. Debo over 51.5.
I'm going to go under on that.
I'm also going to have to go under on that. I think he has really honestly slipped off since CMC coming into town.
He has.
I think he hasn't found his footing on being a wide receiver fully yet.
Agreed.
Even though he's the one who asked
for
to
it.
do this.
Yeah.
Only I think he did that for injury's sake. It also it made sense for his contract, I guess.
Yeah. That's the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you got it.
He wanted to be paid like a hybrid,
Yeah.
and the 49ers are like, nah, we're not going to do that.
And that's when he was like, all right, then I'm not risking it.
Yeah, and so I think it's one of those, like, throughout the regular season, they didn't use him much as a running back, but you're seeing it more and more because it's so, like, last year it was so integral to what they did.
It was explosive. It was
Yeah.
amazing watching him last
So when you need to win, you need to get yards, you should use your best players in the ways that they best work.
And I think he would be okay with it more in a playoff setting.
Agreed. Yeah.
Rather than just a normal regular season game against any Bull
No,
Johnson.
I agree, and I think that that's smart business decision and not really want to run the ball during the regular season. You want to reduce hits. But in the playoffs, you got to do what you got to do.
Have to. And then we're sitting with Ayuk, 45.5. Goddard, 45.5. Same line. Ayuk can get that big play, but I would honestly stay away from him. I don't think that he has enough value, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think that that's really... You drop that by 10, and I'd definitely consider it, but damn near 50, 40, like 45 yards.
Yeah, you're basically talking a 50-yard game from him.
Yes. Goddard's another one that, he should go over on that easily.
should.
But
They have a lot of weapons around him.
Exactly. You never know how much he's going to get the ball. Like we were talking about earlier, if you've got Fred Warner on him, then he's probably going to get blanketed. Even if you put Jimmy Ward on him, who's a solid safety, he's not going to be as effective as he was against the Giants. I'd probably go under on Goddard off my gut.
And then we've got Devonta and A.J. Brown. We got 66.5 for Smitty, 73.5 right now sitting for A.J. Brown.
AJ's going up.
He's going up.
He was
Everyone's
70
loving
yesterday.
it. Yeah, people are loving him.
He was 70 yesterday.
I would have to say Smitty, love his over yards. I just think even if A.J. Brown does get fully used to the max and get those 80 yards, I think that just leaves Smitty open for at least 2 big breaks.
I think Smitty gets you 70. I think Smitty gets you 70 and then AJ gets you 80. That's what I think is going to happen. So I'd probably go over on both of them.
I would agree. Then
Sound real biased right now.
I mean, hey, look at your shirt.
I mean, I am biased. I can't say I'm not, but
Hey, listen, I'm repping right now too a little bit. I've got some Eagles on.
I'll take that.
And then for the next game, that 6:30 game, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would say I'm more excited to see this game.
Personal bias. I'm obviously more excited for the Eagles game. You know, I'll be there. But
oh yeah, your family has a huge tailgate, right?
Yeah, we have a big tailgate every home game. We have a whole row down in 126, right in the corner.
How long have you guys had that row?
Since the link opened, we've had that row. My family's had season tickets since Franklin Field, basically, and so they were at the vet, and when they opened up the link, they came to my family and said, "Hey, you guys get first pick of where you guys want to sit." Along with, I'm sure, a bunch of other people, but
for sure.
We got 126 row 5. It is absolutely insane.
That's beautiful.
It's lovely. I'm very lucky and fortunate to be able to go, but it's awesome. It's a rowdy atmosphere for sure. It's crazy.
His family's always welcoming me into their tailgates too.
Oliver's family at this point.
Yeah, of course. And then, so we've got Chiefs Bengals. In my opinion, it's sitting at a pick'em.
Yep.
It's -1.5 Chiefs, which basically is nothing. Like money line is what you should be taking,
exactly.
no matter what.
Pick who you want to win. Don't worry about any points.
Yeah. Do not stress yourself out with that one.
Right, because if you lose by a point, you're gonna be pissed.
Really upset. So how do you feel? Who are you fully taking?
I've been saying this since we started. I gotta go Bengals still.
Oh, yeah,
I still have to go Bengals.
Sense.
Yeah, they're just clicking. They're clicking. It's the same thing as last year. Nobody really respected them coming into the playoffs, but like they're clicking. You can't deny when a team is hot, and the Bengals are hot. They're flowing,
and they look even better than last year.
They do, and Joe Burrow is just. I'm probably taking him over Josh Allen at this point. And
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. I think Josh Allen is looking pretty rough with his resume right now.
I like Josh Allen. He plays a lot of hero ball.
I feel like he kind of has to have.
He does.
But a lot of times, also sometimes it kind of feels forced. I don't know. Whenever he gets outside the pocket, it's like recklessness.
Yes.
Recklessness.
Not that because I think Josh Allen is 100 times better than Carson Wentz ever was, but it's very Carson Wentz-esque. It's very like things get out of control. I had to make a play, so I force something into double coverage, and even if it just gets tipped and picked, it's still a turnover, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of hero ball, when you play hero ball, it's not a recipe for success, especially in the playoffs.
And that's why I think Joe Burrow takes it over there.
Yeah,
just because he takes that cake, because he makes those plays. He does his job. He stays efficient. He doesn't go outside of his comfort zone, but his comfort zone's so big.
He just exactly. He makes the easy plays. He makes the reads he needs to make, and he does what he needs to do. I think the Bengals are just a hot team right now.
I think Joe Burrow's over yards at 277.5 sitting. Yep. It keeps rising too.
It does, yeah.
He'll probably at game time be like 283. I feel like.
Yeah.
I think that's a slam. I think he hits the 300 marker.
I was just gonna say that. I'd say 300 probably. That's what I'd probably take him at.
And then we've got Patty Mahomes sitting at 284.5.
It's rough.
It just really depends on how that ankle is feeling.
It's rough.
I'm not there with him, asking him like in the athletic training room.
Did you see the video of him walking?
No.
He looked fine.
Really? He looked fine?
Yeah, he was at a press conference. And he hopped off the podium and he walked down some steps and walked down a hallway.
I need to see some jumping jacks.
I need
to see some jump rope.
But like no limp, just his usual like little waddle that he kind of does. So that's rough. I'd probably go under just because you never know. I mean, if he's really hurt, I don't think he throws for 280.
Because if I take that over and then he plays that game and he gets a little roughed up and all of a sudden then I'm going to be like, I knew it. I knew it.
I mean, it happened to me last week. I had him in a parlay for 300 yards and he gets hurt and I was like,
it's done.
I'm gone. Wash. See ya.
And then for touchdown scorers, obviously Jamar and Kelsey are the ones who have those minus odds. Minus 105. Right? They're sitting at minus 105, almost even odds. But I'm gonna have to go parlay Jamar and Kelsey. I think it makes sense. I think you throw a little bit of money on that, you're gonna make some money. It just makes sense to me.
I like that. I like a mixing touchdown.
I do too.
P. Ryan had a good game. We can make it 3. Yeah. P. Ryan had a good game against them a couple weeks ago. You're gonna have to run the ball. I think. I mean, the Chiefs are. They have to sell out to stop the pass. You cannot let Jamar go. What was it? 11 for 266 and 3 touchdowns. You can't let that happen again. If he does that, you
crazy
lose.
stat.
You lost, right? So you got to focus on the pass, which means I think Mixon, maybe if he doesn't break one, right? He's another goal line merchant. He gets to the 1 yard line, and they're gonna. But also Joe gets some QB sneak tutties if you want a little value sprinkle.
Let's see what that's sitting at right now. We got Joe Burrow sitting at plus 500 anytime touchdown score.
If he gets down to the goal line,
sprinkle a little something. I mean, if he, for example, bombs one down to Jamar. There's a penalty.
Yep.
You bring him to the 1 yard line.
Sneaked it.
He's gonna go right in.
Eagle special.
Yeah, seriously.
Eagle special.
So I would say that's also a pretty good bet right there.
I like that.
Jerick McKinnon at plus 160 is someone I really enjoy taking for a bet like this, just because Patty is just like injured. I would like Patty to run one in, but obviously it just doesn't seem feasible right now.
What's his rushing yards? Is it even an option?
Patty?
Yeah.
We've got, it definitely is not an app. Yeah, no. They would definitely not let us touch that.
Yeah.
Vegas would never let us have that.
There was somebody last year, I want to say it was like Matt Stafford. It was like 0.5.
It always is like that with like Tom Brady.
Yeah, and everybody slammed the under. And he broke like a 3 yard run on like the first drive of the Super Bowl or something like that. And it was like,
there we go.
All right.
Now you need him to kneel.
Yeah, they're exactly
That's
right.
That's the worst thing. I've had that happen to me in a couple bets. I think it was actually Patty Mahomes.
Yeah,
where I had him.
yeah.
I don't know. It was a year or two ago.
I remember there was a big game where that happened.
Big game, and he kneels it down twice to bring me 1 yard below his needed number, which is upsetting. But whatever. I'm over it, clearly. Pacheco, I don't even think his odds are that good at plus 140. I think that he gets a lot of time not in the red zone. I think he works the field a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't, when it gets 20 in within, he starts to get less carries, I feel like. And I don't know if he knows how to get through that goal line fully yet.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, they're hard runners, so I think either one of them is good. If you're going to take the value, then go McKinnon.
Yeah.
You get an extra 20 cents on that, so.
For sure. And then we've got rushing yards. Joe Mixon over 59.5. I love it.
I like that.
I think he's gonna sit between 65 and 70 yards.
I think so too. That sounds about right. Yeah.
I see that happening with a 1 touchdown. I could see him getting 2+. I could see 2+.
I could see that. Yeah.
If they get ahead and Patty can't really get it moving too much, they're just gonna keep running.
That's a good point actually. Especially if they go up quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they go up like 14-3, like it just starts to feel weird, and then over forcing it on the Chiefs side and then running it and keeping time.
One thing I really like this weekend is T. Higgins over 56.5.
T. Higgins, 56.
He's been a little slow lately, but if you have to take away Jamar after he just gave you 266 last year, then it opens up T. Higgins. That's another one of Joe Burrow's like safety blankets. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs have been really good at shutting down Hayden Hurst. I'm not sure what his total is, but they've been pretty good at shutting him down.
Hayden Hurst is sitting at 35.5.
Yeah, he had 2 receptions for 12 yards.
I was going to say, it actually is interesting after you just said the safety blanket for T. Higgins, that usually it's the tight end. Mm-hmm. Usually it is that tight end, but the fact that you can have a safety blanket wide receiver really changes the game.
Yeah, you just throw him a ball.
They might be game planning super hard for Jamar because of that game. It might give them PTSD to the point that they might over coverage him. So
Higgins had 3 for 62 in the championship last year, and he had 3 for 35 and a touchdown earlier this year. So 56.5. I mean, good amount of yards, but that offense is prolific. If you think Joe Burrow is going to throw for 300 yards, then it's not just going to be Jamar Chase.
For sure. And then you got Juju at 47.5, Kadarius Toney at 35.5. I personally like both unders.
You like both unders? I might take the over on Juju.
He might get the ball a lot because he, like, just like in the beginning of the season, Patty Mahomes was like, "Oh, we spread the love."
Yeah.
In playoffs, you don't spread the love. You give it to that guy. You give it to the best. So I can actually see that.
I could see Juju getting over that. I don't love Kadarius Toney. I think he's like a gimmick player. Like,
he'll get those dump off passes to the side and make it 2-3 yards. He might get a 10 run outburst at most, but I don't think he's getting more than 4 receptions.
Yeah, he's fast. He's talented, but he's not a great receiver. I think Juju, I don't know, couple shots over the middle, couple slants, couple ins. Especially if they take away Kelsey, right? Because the Bengals have been pretty good at taking away Kelsey. So if you take away Kelsey, then that's really the only other option. Who else?
Yeah, I think the last time when they played in Week 13, it was he had 4 receptions for 54 to 56 yards around. I think 56 yards, which is for Kelsey like. That's lovely.
He had 5 for 25 in the championship game last year, so they do a good job of.
They know how to
keeping them under lock. So I'd probably go over on the Juju, under on Tony.
And then Kelsey over 77.5.
I'll take that.
I mean, just based off of everything,
it's like as I just sit here and say Kelsey, you have 25, and then
it still doesn't matter to
56. Me. No, it doesn't matter.
It still doesn't matter to me.
It's like taking the under on Jalen Hurts rushing. You're playing a dangerous game if you take a Travis Kelsey under. Dangerous game. He had 14 catches last week.
14
catches last week.
That's a lot.
Crazy. I don't even know how many targets, but 14 catches.
And then just for this game, I love the passing tutty picks for this one. Joe Burrow over 1.5. I think it doesn't have the best value. You're sitting at minus 192, but if you throw that into a parlay it's almost guaranteed to hit, in my opinion. Unless, of course, Joe Mixon has a 4 tutty game for some weird reason that happens.
Or you cash on your plus 500 Joe Burrow rushing touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then Patrick Mahomes sitting at over 1.5. I just wouldn't touch it. Minus 172.
Yeah.
Weird line. Don't like it. Feels weird to me.
Agreed. Any of the Patrick Mahomes lines this weekend are just suspect. It's just you have no idea.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Who he's going to be this weekend. I mean, he's probably still going to be good, but 282, that's a lot of passing yards. Touchdowns, you don't know. I just stay away from Patty.
Stay away from him.
I'd stay away from Patty this weekend.
Definitely. Well, that about wraps up our show. Thank you so much for coming in. Had a great conversation.
Yeah, man. This is awesome.
Please like, subscribe, comment below your picks, how you feel about what we said. I think we did pretty well with our picks, but if you feel differently, let us know. And thank you guys so much for watching at Usala Media. See you later.